We are dedicated by A.B. Spry and family for the protection of our troops, their success, and for Yiddishkeit all over the globe, for their safety, recovery of the hostages, and by Shimon Klein, Lila Nishmas, Asher Anshel Ben Yehuda, and Gittel by Shimon Pinchas, and by Irving Fishbaum for Issa Ben Razel and Eliezer Ben Razel. We learned from Meir Ben Chai Sarah. We welcome in here in Shul a very, very, very respectable crowd. Rabbi Blumenfeld, Gedalia Engel, Rabbi Avram, Michal Avram, and Ruvain Shannon, Rich Lenner, Kramer, Saba, and we welcome in over here Irving Fishbaum, Aaron Swade, Nachman Chaplin, Mel Zachber, Eddie Kazan, A.B. Spry, Dr. Block, Dr. Udell, Marshall Castle, Shimon Klein, Ruvain Pollack, Yitzi Muller, Rabbi Kranz, Berish Gesserman, Dr. Guy, Mo Kushner, Yitzi Fuchs, Menachem Umansky, Jay Siegel, Moshe Lehman, Abe Arbach, Naftali Javelin, Elias Shutman, Pesach Siegelman. We have the Einhorn family joining us, David Helfgott on Kololosh, and we are holding on the bottom of Peiches Amud Beis, and we are holding by Amar Rav Idi Bar Avin. Amar Rav Idi Bar Avin. Afanan Nami Tanina. We also learned about the Takonas Usha. Me'idin anu be'ish pliny. If Marshall and Elliot testify about Chatzkel, Shegiresh es ishtay, that Chatzkel divorced his wife Shirley, V'nasan ksuvasa, and he paid her the ksuva. V'ari he talked up, and she, Marshall and Elliot. Shirley's still living with Chatzkel, Umesham Shasai, and she's still serving him as his wife. V'nimtzu zaymim, and no surprise, we find on that day that they weren't in Staten Island like they said they were. Rather, Elliot and Marshall were in Acapulco. Ein oimrim yishalmu kol ksuvasa. We don't say they have to pay Shirley her whole ksuva because they were cheating her out of the ksuva. They said that Chatzkel already paid it. We don't say they pay her the whole ksuva because maybe she would never get the ksuva. Maybe she would predecease her husband and never get the ksuva. Ela toivas hanaas ksuvasa. Rather, they only have to reimburse her for the toivas hana of her ksuva. What's called the toivas hana of her ksuva? Ezel toivas hana ksuvasa. Well, oimdim kama adam writes a litain b'ksuvas shelzu. We evaluate how much a speculator, a risky speculator, Eddie, right? Eddie, he speculates all over town. So how much a speculator would give Shirley for her ksuva now, I'll pay you for your ksuva, she'imnis amaloi niskasha, that if your husband dies or gets divorced, so then I get the money. Of course, Mesa, if she's predeceases her husband, then Eddie's out with nothing. Then you're Shenabala. So that is what right now Marshall and Elliot sought to deprive her of. That value right now, and nothing more. Because it could be that she'll predecease her husband and she wouldn't get anything. But wait a second. If we hold that we don't hold her the takanas usha, and therefore they didn't upgrade the strength of the husband, that if she sells it, he could take it away, that if she sells it now, he could take it away from the lekuchas, from the buyers. Amayir shena baila. Why would the husband inherit it? Tizvin ksuvasa legamre. She could sell it right now. She could sell everything that's written in the ksuva, and because his kinyan peiris is not kinyan guf, so the chayre, it's a raya that we hold her to takana susha, and she can't sell it, because if she sells it, the husband just takes it away if she dies. Says Amar Baya, im omru b'nichsei malug. Even if we say that she could sell it in the lifetime of her husband, ya'imru b'nichsei tzayin barzel, would we say it with the nichsei tzayin barzel? Now, if you remember, nichsei tzayin barzel is property that she brings in when she gets married, and she says to the husband, look, I'm entering it into the ksuva, and you're responsible, if we get divorced, to reimburse me for it. And if it goes up in value, you get the profit. If it goes down in value, you suffer the loss. Now that certainly is more his, because he takes full responsibility for it. And that's what we're saying, that if they testified about the nichsei tzayin barzel, there she doesn't have the full value of it, because there she could certainly not sell it. As Rashi says, Yomi b'nichsei tzayin barzel b'ksuvasa dainu nedunya, the dowry shechnisa loy b'shumam b'beis aviyah, that they evaluated, v'koisen loysa b'ksuvasa, and they write in the ksuva, o mekabel olav chasen achrayis, and the husband accepts the responsibility. In pichsu loy, if it goes down in value, he suffers the loss. V'im hoisiru loy, and if it goes up, he suffers he gets the gain. Kedamrinam b'yavamis b'amana l'chein gadol, nichsei tzayin barzel, nechas ma'oimdim b'achrayis ha-mekabel, l'shalem ke'em barzel zeh shu kasev, shu kasha liyos peiches. It doesn't, like iron, that doesn't go down in value. V'hasam vadei loy matzim of zavna, and therefore that she definitely can't sell. And therefore, since she can't sell it, the only value she has in it is if a speculator wants to buy it in case her husband dies or divorces her. Now, Amar Abaya, Toivas Hana, the benefit, this slight benefit that she has, that she could sell it to a speculator, to our very own Eddie, since we started talking about it, Neba Milsa, let's talk about it. Let's say Shirley sells her ksuva to a speculator, and Eddie, a very savvy speculator, gives her 30 cents on the dollar. In other words, it's a gamble, because if she predeceases the husband, then he doesn't get anything. So he gives her 30 cents on the dollar. Who gets that money? So the Gemara says, Toivas hana leisha. She gets to keep the money. And we don't say, like we said in other cases, that we take that money, buy real estate, and the husband owns the real estate, and she gets the husband gets to use the fruit, and she keeps the real estate. No, she gets the money straight up. Why? If we say that goes to the husband, what did we cause you to lose? Let Marshall and Dr. Udell say, with our testimony, what did we cause you to lose? It's going to the husband anyway. Even if you would have sold it to Eddie as a speculator, the husband would have taken it away from you. Says the Gemara, what she loses is that there would be more money in the house. When there's more money in the house, the wife benefits, even though it goes to the husband. But if there's more money, if the house is not tight, the wife benefits. Amar Rav Shalman, it's so interesting that, Rabbi Yaakov Emden does a study in this throughout Shas, that sometimes people say a memra which is reminiscent of their name. So Rav Shalman is a name of shalom, of peace. Now we know when there's more money in the house, there's peace in the house. I know you're saying gvulek shalom, chelev chitim yazbiech. If there's the cream of wheat that satisfies, then there's peace. The Gemara says when the cookie jar is empty, then people start fighting. So Amar Rav Shalman mishum de'ikar ravach beisa, because there's more plenty in the house, which benefits her. Amar Rava. Rava says, well, let me tell you the halacha. The halacha is that she gets the money straight up. The money that she sells to the well-known worldwide. By the way, if you're looking for a speculator, 1-800-Eddie Chazan is a good place to start. So, but you have to know how to spell Eddie. Says the Gemara, Amar Rava, I'm going to hear tomorrow, what did you do? All the bookies in the world are calling me. Says the Gemara, Amar Rava, that's okay, you just get in the car and move to a different state. We got some dodgy people in this year. No, we don't. Okay, got to take.
It's only imagination.
Marshall, what I would say is it takes one to know one. Amar Rava, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. So Amar Rava, Hilkasa, Toivas Hanol Isha, the money, if she sells it to a speculator, goes to her, Ve'ena bal oichel peris, and the husband doesn't get the use of it. Now that's really strange. Why is that? Normally we know that if she would inherit something from her maternal side, so if let's say she inherits $75,000, the din is we take that $75,000, buy real estate, the husband gets the right of the fruit, and she owns the karka. So why over here, when she sells it to a speculator, why does she get the cash straight up? So the Gemara says, my timer. So the Gemara says a very interesting thing. We don't do double dipping. You see, when she sells it to a speculator, her husband still is using the payers. What happens is she has 100 acres of farmland. Eddie says, I'll buy those 100 acres on the chance that you'll get divorced or widowed, and then I'll get it afterwards. The husband is still enjoying the fruit of the 100 acres. He doesn't get to double dip and get the fruit of the acres and also the money of the speculator. He doesn't get to double dip. So says the Gemara, my time a payra tikinu le rabbanan. He has the fruit. Payra de payra le tikinu le rabbanan. Now, this usage of payra de payra, this is a very interesting thing, is not what payra de payra usually means. Usually payra de payra means that if you have rent money, that's the payers. If you then further invest the rent money and it makes something else, that's payra de payers. That's not what it means over here. Over here it means that he doesn't get double from the same thing. He's already getting the fruit of the 100 acres. We don't say also that he could get the money that she gets from speculating with the 100 acres. That he doesn't get. Pay like to kinel rabbanan. Ki asa, and by the way, Rabbi say this Gemara, this is not run of the mill Gemara. These are very interesting pieces of Gemara. They're quoted all over Shas in one way or another. As we welcome in Stephen Holtzman for our 26th Zoomer of the evening, missing a lot of people tonight. I mean, we're Shalom Fogel. Mark Frankel is still working, burning the midnight oil. Hopefully, it's going to stop soon. So, Ki also Rapop of Rav Huna braid Rabbi Yeshua Mebei Rav, when Rapop and Rav Huna, the son of Rabbi Yeshua, came from the academy of Rav, Imre, they said, Tanina l'takana zusha. We have a Mishnah that backs the takana vusha. So let's review. What's the takana vusha? The takana vusha is that they protected the husband's interest, that if the wife goes ahead and sells her land while she is married, right? The husband only has the usufruct. When she dies, and their relationship is broken, the husband could take it away from the buyer. He has more strength than the buyer. So the Gemara says, what's the raya? For Eved v'isha pigiyasan ra. The Mishnah says that if you meet up with an Eved Kanani or a woman, it's bad news. Hachayvul ben chay, because if you damage them, you have to pay. But v'heim shechavlu b'acherim p'turim. But if they damage you, they're patur. An Eved Kanani doesn't have any money, kol mash kana Eved kana rabbi, and a woman doesn't have any money, kol mash kana isha kana baila. So therefore, it's bad to meet up with them. But wait a second. If you don't hold her to takana susha, she could sell property now and get money. She could sell her nichse malug, that's the property which she retains the value of the property. If it goes up, she profits. If it goes down, she suffers the loss. And the husband only has rights of usufruct. So if you don't hold the takana susha, she could sell it now, in case her husband dies or is widowed. The isov daglesel takana susha tizmin nichse lug v'titein lei, says the Gemara. According to you, nehei nami de'ise l'takana susha. She cannot sell it completely. That means that in the event that she predeceases her husband, it will go back to the husband, but still she could sell it to Eddie, to the well-known speculator. She'll just dial 1-800-EDDIE, and it's like Crazy Eddie. I don't know if anybody remembers him, but his prices were insane. Right? So I could see that Ruvain Pollack doesn't remember. Ruvain Pollack only remembers that nobody beats the Wiz. That far back he goes. And right. Who, by the way, was a Yid, Eddie Antar. He was a Sephardic Yid. But anyway, or a guy like Aaron Swade goes to modes, right? You got to go to modes, right? So even though you hold it a takana susha, that limits her ability to sell it now completely. V'loy matzi mizavna legamrei, still. Why should she not have any money to pay the guy that hit her, and that we should say pigiyos on raw, that it's bad to meet up with her? Let her sell it to Eddie for the speculative value of in case her husband dies or divorces her, v'titenle, and give it to the one that she damaged. Says the Gemara, ela delesla. It must be that she doesn't have anything to sell. So achanami delesla. So there's no raya that we hold of the takana susha. So the Gemara says, yeah, but there's another question. Why can't she sell her base ksuva? Let's say she was married a virgin, so she's entitled to $200. So Eddie that pays 30 cents on the dollar, it's more than $200. It's something like $60,000, 200 zuz. So you figure it out, 30 cents on the dollar, she could still recoup a nice fee from the speculation and let her give that to the person that she damaged. Says the Gemara, so the tizvin ksuva, let her sell the base ksuva b'toivis hana v'titen. No. A woman's not allowed to be without a ksuva. Because if she's without a ksuva, it'll be very easy for the husband to divorce her. Hamani Rameir hidamar asaloi la'adam sheyishes ishtay. A person can't keep his wife afilu shah achas, even an hour below ksuva. Why? That's why it says kala below ksuva asur l'bayla kanida. Kala without a ksuva is forbidden to a husband like a nida. Why? The time of my kadesh take kala bein of loitzia. That's an inhibition from getting angry. He can't find his socks. Get out of here, right? And the chont is burnt. Get out of here. He can't do.
You have to do that.
What?
You have to pay the other person. They'll still have a reason not to divorce her. He'll still have to pay the ksuva. It just won't be to her.
1 second. So Rabbi Kranz is asking, why do we say the deterrent is gone? Why do we say the deterrent is gone? He's still not going to divorce her, because if he divorces her, he's going to have to pay the other person. So the answer is that the other person, what happens if he stalls? What happens if he stalls? What happens if he stalls? One second, let me think. There's an obvious answer to this question. Did I? Oh, so the Gemara asked the question. Very good. I knew it was a good question. That's the Gemara's next question. Says the Gemara, Baruch Hashem, you're mechaven to the Gemara's question.
Okay, that's not bad.
Says the Gemara and Rabbi Kranz. I think the Gemara asked it first, although maybe Rabbi Kranz was a Gilgal from before the Gemara, we don't know. Maybe he's the one that asked it in the Gemara. The time amai, what's the reason? Kidei shaloi take kal bein of loy tzir. Says the Gemara, hacha loy migrishla. Well, he won't divorce her. The e migrishla, because if he divorces her, also hanach the zavnei, those that he sold it to, in other words, Eddie will come and gavaloi l'ksuvasa and take the ksuva anyway. Right? So therefore, it's still a deterrent. Ella, says the Gemara, you know why we say that it's pigiyos and ra? Because you want to say that if she slugs Marshall could collect by getting her to sell and speculate her ksuva with Eddie. But Toivus Hana is only mile ninu. It's only words. Umile loy mishtabde. That's not mishubit to Marshall. That when she slugs him, that Marshall could demand it. Says the Gemara, Alam alai? Why not? This is words that are translatable into cash. Am I right? Mileidim is davdei medinrei ninu. These are words that generate cash. She could sell her ksuva to the speculator and get cash, hard cash. I mean, 30 cents to $1, $60,000 is, a lot of moolah. Ella says the Gemara Mishum de Shmuel. You know why? Because we don't want to legislate something that will mess up Eddie. Eddie's a good guy. She hit Marshall after all. So to legislate something that's going to mess up Eddie, why is it going to mess up Eddie? Because she could sell the rights to her ksuva, and then in turn be moichel the sale. She could, believe it or not, she could do that. Says the Gemara, Elamishum de Shmuel. The Amar Shmuel, Amoicher shtar chayv lechaveiroi. Let's say I sell Marshall a promissory note that Mel owes me $100,000. So I sell it to Marshall. And then I could turn to Mel and say, I'm moichel alone. And Marshall is up the creek without a paddle. So here too, she could sell to Eddie to collect the ksuva and then be moichel her husband the ksuva. And even the Yerush could be moichel. Even the ear could be moichel. Says the Gemara, yeah, but why don't we say that she should sell it to Eddie and take the cash from Eddie and immediately reimburse Marshall? So even if she's Michaelet, but Marshall is... now, of course, the answer is that takes care of Marshall, but it's not going to take care of Eddie. And we don't want to legislate something that's going to mess up honest Ed. Let's see it inside. Says the Gemara, well, nobody calls you that. Says the Gemara, Imre, says the Gemara, Zavune Zavin, let her sell it to Eddie, and give it to Marshall. So then if she forgives the husband, okay, so she forgives it, but Marshall got her money. Says the Gemara, no, because we know she's going to be Michael the husband. She doesn't want to have problems with her husband. Imre kol v'gabe bal v'adei machlole, and therefore we won't institute something which is going to mess up the buyer. V'afsedine lahau zavina b'yadayim, and that we should outright mess up the speculator. Eddie lahafsedinu. Says the Gemara, why don't we say that she should sell it to Marshall? At least give the paper to Marshall, so he's at least getting something. At least he's getting something. The imachlo the gabi bal, and if she'll be meichelet, okay, like kamafsid, because now Marshall is getting bupkis. The hashtanami loy midei koyavle. He's getting nothing. Says Gemara, well, he's getting nothing either way, because she's surely going to be meichel her husband she's not going to favor the strange Marshall over her husband. So she's surely going to be Michael the husband. Marshall's surely going to get with nothing, and to just go through the hoops in Besdin for nothing, we're not going to do. And that's what the Gemara says. Saif kol gabe bal, when it comes to the husband, vaday machla. And batuche dina, and to make all the documentation and all the red tape, bichdi, for nothing, loy materchinon. So that's the answer to that. Not sure why Dr. Guy is on Facebook, but it's good to have you there as well. Two different places. Now, 4 lines from the top of Daf Pei Tes Amud Beis. By the way, Rabbi say, if you're a chok aficionado and you didn't get last night's chok, it's really worthwhile to watch. It's a very fascinating chok with a lot of different variety. It's really, really, really. You were there last night, Dr. Black?
No, I was there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon today.
So you heard it. Yeah, it was a special chok. Yeah. Anyway, Philippe, it's good to see you. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Tough good.
Now, okay. So now says the Gemara, Elohad disanya, that which we learned in the Brisa, v'chein hi shechavla babala. Now we're getting here. Shirley slugs her husband Chatzkel. So we would think that she could. We would think he could deduct from the ksuva. So lo yifsida ksuva. She doesn't lose her ksuva. Says the Gemara. Well, why? Amai. Tizvenina nihale liksuvasa labala b'toivas hana. Let her sell the ksuva to her husband, that in case, in case he divorces her, he doesn't have to pay out the ksuva. So says the Gemara, Amai tizvenina lihale. Let her sell it to him, namely deduct from the damages that she did to him. Now, if the husband is, because if she's meichelet, so it goes to the husband anyway. So if she's meichelet, it's going to go to the husband anyway. Says the Gemara, no, she can't do that, because then again there won't be a ksuva. You don't want to have the deterrent. If she's Michael the Ksuva, then there's no reason for him not to send her away. And here there's no kasha of Rabbi Kranz and the Gemara. The time of Mai, says the Gemara, the time of Mai, what's the reason that we want him to have a Ksuva? But now he has a reason to divorce her. He'll divorce her, and then instead of paying out the ksuva, he'll collect the money that she damaged him. Says the Gemara, so again, the Gemara says that why don't we say that she should give the husband the speculative value of the ksuva and say, in lieu of payment that I damaged you, I'm saying that you won't have to pay out the ksuva if you divorce me. So the Gemara says you can't do that because Havadi Rameri, Dama Asal Adam Shiyishes Ishtoi, Afilu Shachas Beloy Ksuva. So the Gemara asks, but anyway, there's no deterrent. Because what's the reason why we say that she can't give him the ksuva? Kidei shaloi take be'en of loitzia. Well, anyway, over here, it's no deterrent because he'll divorce her anyway, and afterwards he'll take it in lieu of the ksuva, he'll take the damages. Hacha migrish la v'gavle bechavle mina, says the Gemara. Ihachi. If so, what do you mean? That the kain he shechavle babala lo yifsida ksuvasa? Why not? Hashtanami migrishla, he'll divorce her, v'gavle bechavle mina, and collect the damages. Says the Gemara, you know what it's talking about? It's talking about where there was a big ksuva. No, it's in the ksuva, there could also be toisvis ksuva. He could add extra to the ksuva. And this was a big ksuva. So he's not going to divorce her because then he'll have to pay up a big amount of money in order to collect that which she damaged him. He's not going to do that. Says the Gemara, it's talking about where there's a big marriage settlement. The mishumahu pursa, because of the little damage that she did, loy mafsid tuva. So then the Gemara says, so then there's a very simple thing. Let her give to the husband the extra money and say, look, in payment of what I did to you, you could keep the extra money if case you divorce me. And as a deterrent, we still have the base ksuva. The ida nefisha ksuvasa, miksuvasa daraisa, if let's say the taisvis ksuva added another 100 zuz. So nukma ksuva daraisa, let her keep the regular ksuva so that you have the deterrent. The idach tizvananate nihale bechavle. And the other 100, let her say, look, in the event that you divorce me, you don't have to pay it, and that will be the payment for the injury. Says the Gemara, it's talking about a case where her ksuva was not more. Let's say he married her, because this is the case that the Gemara gives. Let's say he married her as a non-virgin. So her ksuva was 100 zuz, or 25 sela, because there's 4 zuz in the sela. So her ksuva was 25 zuz. The damage that she did to him was 4 zuz. So over here, there's no recompense for him. What's he going to do? He can't divorce her and collect the money, because he's not going to pay out 25 zuz in order to get 4 zuz. He can't say, she can't, and we can't say let her sell the speculation of the 4 zuz, because if you deduct the 4 zuz, you don't have the full 100 zuz, and you don't have the deterrent. So, kigayin deloy nefisha ksuvasa miksuva daraisa, the damage is 4 zuz. The mishum arba zuz for 4 zuz loy masid eser mechamisha. He's not going to divorce her and have to pay out 25 zuz in order to collect 4 zuz. Says the Gemara, and now we're going to learn something cryptic, and unusually, we're going to learn the next Gemara according to the Pirush of Taisvis and not according to Pirush of Rashi, because there's a lot of speculation of what Rashi means. Elahad is Sanya, that which we learned in a Braisa. Elahad is Sanya, that which we learned in a Braisa. Kishem shaloi timkor v'hi tachtav. Just like she doesn't speculate and sell the ksuva to Eddie, the speculator, in order to reimburse the one that she damaged, because we say that she's vaday going to be moichel the debt, and then Eddie would be messed up. Kach loy tafsid v'itachtav. So also, she doesn't have to give up the ksuva when she's by him. Says the Gemara, v'azimne mishkechla demifseda. There are times where she has to give it up. We said if the ksuva was a big amount, there she gives up she could speculate the bigger amount and keep the base ksuva as a deterrent. Says Rava, no, this is talking about something else. This is very confusing. There's something called ksuvas benin dichrin. What's a ksuvas benin dichrin? That's where if Chaim had two wives, Sarah and Yocheved, and from Sarah he had children, and from Yocheved he had children. So the din is when Chaim dies, all the boys divide up the estate from both wives. But before they divide it equally, the Ksuvas Benin Dichrin ensures that Sarah's children get Sarah's Ksuva, and Yocheved's children get Yocheved's Ksuva before they divide the rest of the estate equally. And of course that would be Nageya if Yocheved had a huge Ksuva of $10,000 and Sarah only had the base Ksuva of 200 zuz. So then the Ksuvas Benin Dichrim would ensure that Yocheved's children get their mother's Ksuva and before they divide the rest of the estate equally. Now the question is, what happens if the wife speculated to Eddie the ksuva? Says the Gemara, let's see it inside. Amar Rava seifa asan l'ksuvas benin dichrin. V'achi kitani kishem shama cheres ksuvas la'acherim. If let's say she sold the paper to others, to Eddie, but Eddie lost out, she predeceased her husband, so Eddie doesn't get anything. Now the children say, well, I'm sorry, but you don't get your ksuvas of your mother because your mother sold it. They can't say that. It doesn't affect it. If she sold the paper to Eddie, because Eddie didn't get it, because she predeceased. So the ksuva is intact, that the children could ask it first when their father dies, before the children of the other wife. My time is Zuzehudan so, because the only reason she speculated was because she was tight for cash, so the Rabbanan don't penalize the heirs. Even if she sold the ksuva to her own husband, that if he divorces her, he won't have to pay it, but she predeceases the husband, the sons don't lose out the ksuva of their mother. My time, what's the reason? Because they were pressured for money. She was pressured for money, so we don't penalize the heirs. Now, for the final Gemara, boy, are we learning some real unusual laws. These are really unusual laws. Let's go back to the Takana Susha. Takana Susha is quoted all over Shas. Lema, let's say, as the Gemara suggests, let's say that this protection, that if she sells the property to someone else, that when she dies, the husband takes takes it away from that person, let's say that this is actually a machlokes tanoim. Says the Gemara, lema takonas usha tanoihi. And here we're going to talk about where the woman had an Evet Kanani that was her Avdei Malug. Remember, Avdei Malug, that's slaves, Avadim Kananim, Canaanite slaves, that she brought into marriage, and the arrangement was that if it goes up in value, the improvement belongs to her. If they go down in value, she suffers the loss. And the husband has the right of usufruct to benefit from the Avadim while they're married. Remember, if the owner hits the tooth or the eye of a slave, it goes out free. So what happens if the husband hits the eye or tooth? And what happens if the wife does? So says Gemara, the Tani Chode Avdei Malug Yoitzin B'Shein V'Ayin L'Isha. If she knocks out the tooth or the eye, the slave goes free. Avaloi L'Ish. But not if the husband does. Now that makes a lot of sense. Because since we say Kinyan Peris Lavka Kinyan Aguf Dami, the right of usufruct is not the same as owning it. So since he only has the right to use it, if he knocks out the tooth or the eye, he's not the owner, and the slave doesn't go free. But the woman who essentially owns the Avdei Malug, they go free. Tanya Idach Loyla Ish V'Loyla Isha. That even if the woman knocks out the tooth of the eye, it doesn't go free. Now, Savrua, the Kuli Alma Kinyan Peris Lavka Kinyan Aguf Dami. Everybody holds that the husband's ownership of the usufruct is not like owning the slave itself. That's why the husband, if he knocks out the eye or the tooth, it doesn't go free. So my la b'hakam ifli, damanda amali isha, the one that says that if the wife knocks out the eye or the tooth, the slave goes free. Less like takanas usha. He doesn't hold to the protection of the takanas usha that upgrades the husband's rights. So since she could sell it, that if she dies, it goes to the buyer, it goes to Marshall, so she has a real ownership. And therefore, if she knocks out the tooth or the eye, it goes free. That even if she knocks out the tooth or the eye, it doesn't go free. It's like takanas usha. It holds her to takanas usha. So therefore, since she's limited that she can't sell it, so therefore she's not really an owner. Says Gemara Loi. The kuli alma islu takanas usha. Everybody holds it to takanas usha. Before the takana, if she hit out the eye or the tooth, so since she could sell it, she's the owner, it goes free. Where they limited her power, then even if she knocks out the tooth or the eye, it doesn't go free. The islu takana susha. But there's certain things that supersede a lien. Now there are liens and there are liens. That's how Shimon Klein makes his parnasa, right? There's a lot of fine print, right? There are liens and there are liens. Now there is a lien that's a superior lien called an apoitiki. That means that, let's say, Rich took a loan for me of $100,000. And he shows me a cottage in Boca Raton. And he says, the payment is from this cottage. That's called an apoitiki. Apoiteki. He specifies where I could collect from. Now that's a very superior lien because he itemized an exclusive lien. It's not like a regular lien. That's a more specific lien. Even so, the din is that if Rich is makdish that house, it becomes hektish. It's mafkia from the lien. Now let's say Rich has an Evet Kanani. I shouldn't tell you about this, but some people still have slaves. It's against the HOA, I know, so don't tell anybody. But manacled in his basement, right? He still has a couple of slaves, right? Abraham Lincoln, he didn't hear of. What could you do? Some people, they're a little slow on the history, So, and he says, Rabbi Weiss, I mishabed you my best slave, Ike. And then he frees Ike. Shechrer supersedes my lien. Ike then becomes a Jew. And that supersedes the lien. Now here's the last case. This is a dandy. In this case, Rich owns Peter the guy $100,000. And he shows him an apotheke of 500 bottles. That's not enough. 5,000 bottles of Glenlivet. 30-year Glenlivet. 30-year. And then Pesach comes. So Rich claims, listen, it was Meshubit to the guy. It shouldn't become Aser on Pesach. The guy, chametz of the guy is not Aser. The Isser chametz overwhelms the lien, and all that Glenlivet becomes Aser. So therefore, says the Gemara, everybody holds a Takana Susha. If everybody holds a Takana Susha, why, if the wife knocks out the tooth of the eye, does he go free? She's limited, she can't sell it because of the Takana Susha. Elaman the Yom Leish V'Leish my time to the Rava. The Amar Rava, for Rava says, Hektish, where Rich is makdish the house that was an apotheke to me. Or chametz, or with Isser chametz comes and causes the Glenlivet that a guy had a lien on. Or V'shikra, or he emancipates the slave that he made as an apotheke to me. Mafkia midei shibud, it overwhelms the shibud. And therefore, if she, even though the husband has a shibud on this slave, but her knocking out the tooth of the eye overwhelms that lien and it goes free. Says, Lema de Rava Tanayi? Are you going to say that this din of Rava, that shikhr overwhelms a lien, is machlokes Tanayi? Said, no, that Rava is that shot of Rava is accepted all over Shas. The question is, did the Chachamim strengthen the husband's lien to make it more powerful? And that's part of the Takanas Usha, giving the husband serious rights. And therefore, even though normally shikhr overwhelms a shibud, here the knocking out the eye of the tooth doesn't overwhelm the shibud that the husband has. Now we're going to learn more answers here. What the difference is between the two opinions of whether the woman knocks out the tooth of the eye, the slave goes free. But we're going to save that for tomorrow. This was a very, very big job to learn this stuff. I want to thank you all for your patience and your attention. It's really absolutely amazing. We're going to do the Mishnah Yomis now.